pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call on council. Ken Walker, John Jones.
Here.
James McMahon. Josh Putnam.
Here.
Leanne Guier. Present. Gary Hulsey. Clint Steiger.
Here.
So Trent sent me a text saying that he's going to be late and James will not be here tonight. He's on vacation with his family. Is there any changes or additions to the agenda? And I don't see Dave.
I don't see Dave here, so we might want to.
You might have to remove the stormwater grant. I can kind of tell you what it is, but
Maybe
we
it'll
don't
show
have
up
it.
later.
He might.
I would like to talk about the legal action, the writ of mandate, and what's going on, as well as have some comments that I'd like to discuss, council discuss in relationship to the mayor's September 9th blog. He's made quite a few accusations in relationship to funding, as well as accusations of the council, but I think we need to do some investigations based upon those funding issues.
So you want the writ on there and the block.
Yeah.
Is there anything else? Any other additions or subtractions from the agenda?
You can pull Valentine part right away. There's nothing to report on that right now.
All right.
You're pulling Valentine?
Yeah.
Yes, Debbie?
The bar stuff
Yeah.
that I sent you an email about, can we talk about that?
That was in regards to the audit report and the bars, what you learned at the, okay. So you want to give a briefing on that? I didn't know if you wanted to do it here at the regular meeting.
Oh, well, I think here to see whether or not you want me to move forward with it so I can get the paperwork together for the
Okay.
regular meeting.
Do we have any paperwork to support it here? So, just put Betty and, let's see, info from conference. Okay, anything else?
Might want to make comment about Mr. Calkins' return to active employment.
Would you like to address us, or were you going to wait until the regular council meeting? You know, you could go first if you'd like to address us. I think we're done with the adding and things to the agenda. Welcome back, Chief.
Welcome back.
Well, I would like to thank all of you for your patience during the time that I was gone. I know Lieutenant Massey and Sergeant Pickett had a rough go of it, and I think they did a great job. And when I came back Friday, everything is still intact. So we had a staff meeting today. We've got some plans we're going to try and implement, and of course we have the vacancies, and I worked with Gail Bennett, Lieutenant Massey and I this morning to at least try to get a couple, the office position and the police officer position filled, and we do have an applicant pass the lower board for the evidence custodian, and we have one police officer that we're going to start the background on, who's a lateral officer. So really things, we'll get moving right along. And I apologize to council for any inconvenience that was created out of this whole incident.
Yeah.
Yes.
John, are they, you guys gonna be working on the evidence technician position also?
Yes, that's That's one that we're starting the background today on.
Okay.
We had 4 tests and one that looks okay. We won't know until some further investigation, but that's very important. We've got so many. I haven't been in the evidence room with you.
I have.
How's it looking?
Well, before Sally left, she spent hours with Stephanie, and they've got rid of a lot of the evidence before she left. So I think it's looking pretty good. There's a lot more that we still need to get rid of, but it's looking pretty good.
And we kind of set some priorities and goals this morning at the staff meeting, and that happens to be one of them.
Any other questions from council?
Thank you.
Welcome you back.
Thanks, Chief. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the Stormwater Grant. When I went to the PIC meeting last Thursday, the Public Issues Committee meeting that's part of Suburban Cities, Dave Hill came up to me and said that we are part of the $250,000 some stormwater grant that we were almost excluded out of, that Dave Hill kind of stepped in. Milton would be overseeing the grant and doing everything on the grant, and he was going to bring that to us and present to us tonight. And probably partially my fault for not sending a confirming wrong job, sending a confirming email for him to be here tonight. But hopefully I can get the information from him and have him come in front of us next Monday so that we don't get missed out on that grant. And he can tell you more about it. It sounded like something that we don't want to miss out on. It's free money for our stormwater. Okay, so sorry that we didn't have that. Next on the agenda is the Springbrook building permit and business tax contest. Maria's not here, so I take it Betty's doing that.
Yes.
You need to like remove some chairs or whatever or something.
I just got an email from Jarena that she couldn't make it, and she asked me to please let council know. I will bring the contracts to the next council meeting. The contracts are for the licensing and permitting swap for business tax, which they approved at the last council meeting, and the building permit contracts as well. And that's all she gave me for information, and I was gone last week, so I don't know where you're at. If you have questions you want me to take to her, if I wasn't here at your meeting and what you discussed at the last one.
Right.
Did you have questions that she needed to respond that she didn't give you the backup in the packet?
I don't think so.
She was just wanting to get a head nod from us.
Yeah,
last
to
time,
move
whether we
forward.
I think we were just
wanted
waiting
to
to see
move
what.
forward,
Yeah.
and we all pretty much told her to proceed with the.
Yeah, see the contracts when we get them.
Okay, she'll have them at the next meeting, so you'll have them in your packet Friday.
Okay, and then is that the same with, let's see, ordinance?
That ordinance, she's got a draft with some markup included in your packet. If you have any other changes, we can make them.
I have a, one issue on that is our current definition section on business licenses doesn't define what a business is. So I'm not sure how we will define who is a person engaged in 2 or more businesses. In the case of a corporation or a partnership where they're separate legal entities, that's easy enough to determine they're separate entities. But if you've got if we've got a sole proprietor engaging in 2 different lines of work, are they 2 separate businesses or one business that does 2 different things?
I know that she is of the opinion that each business, depending on your activity.
But then but it's not defined that way in our code. We have no definition of that. For instance, many years ago, I worked at a place that repaired lawnmowers and but sold bicycles. They're related. They use the same tools. Are they 2 separate businesses, lawnmower repair and bicycle shop, or are they a lawnmower and bicycle shop?
Depends on what their business license.
Well, the business license was for general retail sales because they weren't that specific.
For
So-
instance, the bicycle shop, if part of the shop sells bicycles and part repairs bicycles, that.
So do we need to put a definition then?
So
I think we
need a better definition and,
We either need to have a better definition of business, of what a business is in our definition section, or we need to limit this to 2 or more business entities at the same location, in which case a sole proprietor is one business, 2 different corporations are 2 businesses.
So elaborate more in this 5.02.
Yeah, some clarification on what constitutes a person engaged in 2 or more businesses.
Noted.
If they work under 2 different tax numbers, then it would be 2 separate businesses. If they operate under the same tax number, it would be 1 business, wouldn't it?
Not really defined here.
Well, that's one way, that's how B&O return would look at it, but
Yeah.
it's not defined at all in our business licensing section.
I'm saying though,
So-
if we just put that provision
Yeah.
in, that would cover us, wouldn't it?
I believe that would be a simple definition. It would align with the new permit and tax software.
Yeah, then we don't have to go out and make traffic counts or anything else.
For the case of a sole proprietor, it does mean that almost everything you do comes under one number, but
Well,
Right. So basically,
that's how the
how
state taxes it.
she defined it to us, it just isn't adhered, right?
Yeah.
Noted. She'll be here tomorrow.
Okay, anything else? Other questions?
Has the attorney looked at this ordinance structure?
I don't know. We'll make the corrections and make sure he does.
He did.
He did.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, what's council's pleasure?
Move forward.
Okay. Next on the agenda is electronic payments.
The City of Pacific policy and practice requires council authorization prior to bills being paid. The finance department is required to pay some things electronically, such as payroll taxes to IRS, excise taxes to the Department of Revenue. I've not found where these changes from policy were authorized by council. This is a request to formally authorize electronic funds transfer. And a full listing I just got this afternoon. Includes the Department of Revenue for excise taxes, and they require it to be electronic. They won't accept checks anymore. Washington State Department of Retirement, bi-monthly payments for the city's retirement deferred compensation plan. Internal Revenue Service, that's the employee federal withholding and Social Security taxes, and they require it to be electronic. They won't accept anything else. U.S. Post Office, Neo-Post, it's the postage meter, and when they refill the postage machine, it's done electronically, it's done, and that requires payment in an electronic manner. And the Association of Washington Cities, non-union medical insurance payments. And those specific things have been being done for a period of time, some of them for a long period of time. But they come to you when you get your voucher approval, so you have been seeing them, but they're already paid. They're not something that you can pull your money back from. Another thing came up was the police department, and this is what brought this all to a head, was the police department went through a process and talked to Mariah, and they decided to do electronic pistols, concealed weapons permits, and finally the first one came through. I took it to the finance department because I have never been in a situation where another department other than finance has been allowed to take money out of the bank account to pay bills. The finance department asked for some more information. I requested that information from the police department and got a page that Mariah had signed setting that up. I believe that that's a contract that needs to be authorized by council. And so I brought it back to the finance committee. They asked me to have the police department cease and desist until we got it approved and policies written. So we're here to say, is this something you want me to do to get a direction from council? I believe this afternoon, some more information was added to your folders from the police department with all of their information on the string from the Department of Licensing. So I'm looking for council direction.
Are you aware of any of these other than the postal meter? Are these all or primarily government agencies and pension contributions? Or are there other outside vendors that we're currently paying this way?
This is everything.
Right.
And I have made it clear to my staff that nothing gets paid electronically but what council has authorized it first. Because that means payroll is obviously, it's processed before council sees it. And it's come up a couple of times where council's talked about that. Well, if it's an electronic payment, then it's gone. And that's what these are. Mostly they are taxes, which you don't have a choice in. Some of them are employee benefits, and then the pistol licensing is something entirely different.
Taxes are done monthly.
Some of them are done monthly, some of them are done bi-monthly, depending on which ones they are.
Monthly or semi-monthly.
Semi-monthly, sorry, get that right.
Yeah, I'm confused a little bit on this. Now, the police department is actually electronically transferring money?
Out of our checking account to pay the Department of Licensing.
Why would Mariah give that information? Do you know if she had anything to back her approval up on what she did? I mean, apparently
I have her.
she authorized them to do it, right?
She authorized them to do it. She signed the paper. It's not on that paper. She signed the ACH transfer paperwork, sent it into the Department of Licensing. Why she would do that, I don't know. I won't do that without it going to council. I'll tell you right now.
We collect the money at the window for the permits, and the money is sent over to finance. And it's not like we're just withdrawing money, we're putting the money in, and then it goes whatever process like Department of Licensing has. But the money has already gone to the city from the police department.
People pay for their pistol permits. The money comes to the finance department, it is deposited in our account.
Right.
And then when they decide to send it to the Department of Licensing, however that process works, that's their process. I don't know, I haven't been there, haven't been through it. But part of the process, the last step probably is, it would be like going online and buying something and putting it on your credit card, or using your debit card. They basically have access to a debit card for the city.
Well, I'm confused on this.
So do we need to have some ordinance or some structure put in then for coding to identify the check and balances of the process, right? They deposit the money, and then there's a allotment accounted for them, what that money's for, and what they're gonna make the automatic payment. I mean, you need an authorization for that. Is that what you're looking for?
What I'm looking for is for council to authorize these specific electronic transfers. I don't want a blanket authorization to take money out of the account. That would be very bad. I would like specific authorization for the specific things that council authorizes. And I'm willing to do the resolution for you as long as you tell me what it is that you want to authorize. I'll write the resolution, have it for you next week.
The way it stands right now then is that all electronic transfers, the way that the policy is, are to come out of the finance department and only the treasurer or finance director is to make those electronic transfers. And the way what's happening here is electronic transfers are being done from the police department without any council approval or policy set in place for that to happen.
I don't know how the process is.
But it sounds to me like there's other ones that we're not accountable for.
No, the ones that I gave you are the ones that are coming out of the finance department. All of them are coming out of the finance department with the exception of the license, the pistol permits. Now, I'm sorry, I wasn't here when all of the work was done, so I don't have all of the details about how it can be done. Possibly there's a way that it can be done where they do their pistol confidential information that we don't want to know, and then submit the file and send something over, and finance department sends it. I don't know. I would have to make phone calls. I would have to be authorized to talk to somebody.
Or
You weren't at that finance committee
Well,
meeting.
and the auditor's supposed to be here.
The auditor will be coming soon, and I do have a message into the auditor's office, but I have not gotten a response, but I was gone all last week.
Gary?
How much additional time would it be on the finance department? I know that's gonna be a lot of hassle if we just send the applicants over to the finance department, have them make their payment there, then you folks transfer it, then they go back to the police department with a receipt, and so how much additional burden would that put on the finance department to pick that workload up?
I'm not, we're taking payments all day. I don't think that's an issue. And I don't think it would necessarily be required for them to actually come to the finance department to make their payment. I think it's just a matter of where the money transfer is initiating from. And unless I was to talk to whoever, and now, just this afternoon, did I get the contact people at the Department of Licensing to find out whether or not there's a way that it can be done to where it comes out of the finance department. I don't know that because I haven't contacted them. I got this information about 3 o'clock this afternoon. It wasn't provided when I first asked for it.
Well, it seems to me that what the police department is doing, they have their policy in place as far as doing the concealed weapons permit, gathering the money. They get the money, what seems like it should be happening comes over here, and then here, the finance does the electronic transfer. That's not what's happening right now. The electronic transfer is coming from the police department.
I think if you took the time to read this, it explains everything, because certain agencies in the state do this. The purpose is to be more efficient, save time, money, and be more professional. And we still have to do the fingerprints.
Right.
we just need to make sure that we're covered
Right.
over this process, right? That's what you're looking for.
I want all staff to be covered.
Yeah.
Because for anybody to take money out of the account that isn't authorized, that's not a good thing.
Yeah.
That's an audit issue.
So I think whatever we need to have is, I mean, I don't know exactly what the wording we'll need in the resolution is to establish that the criteria is authorized by council, that the police department can collect the money, turn that monies over to finance, and authorize the police department to make the payment. You know, but there's got to be that check and balance between. I'm assuming there's an oversight in relation to the finance and police department, so that whatever they're taking in for this and paying out, you reflect on the other side that you're getting that money.
Well, we're not really actually seeing the tie between the money that comes in and the money that goes out. We're getting, I mean, if you look at the paperwork, what we get in the way of authorization of what they're paying is the front page. We don't even have, I mean, there's $108 here, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people listed. And I don't think that math works. So for us to be able to check and balance it, we don't have the information to do that.
think it's a simple solution. We just need to get Stephanie, Becky together, and all the information is in there. And then, whatever it takes.
Yeah, well, that's fine, you know, I mean,
If that's the direction council wants to go, then I can move forward and bring you a resolution, or at least the information that I can gather. I didn't have the information to even make the phone calls or check any of this information until 3 o'clock this afternoon. Sorry, I didn't have it, so I couldn't check it. It's in your folder. It was new information today.
So just a quick stab at it here. Council authorizes the use of electronic transfer payment for any valid claim against the city where the council has previously approved the payment contract with the vendor. The finance director shall establish procedures to ensure accurate accounting of any such payments. Submission of electronic payments shall be subject to the same rules of approval and authority as other payments by the city. Any claims paid electronically under such a contract shall be presented to council for review and approval along with traditional check claims. Does that work for you?
Sure. Do I get a copy of it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, make the books balance and document everything.
Now, one other little piece, are you wanting all of the money going out to come through the finance department to go out? Is that the goal?
well,
Or do you don't care?
laws,
Well, I think that's covered under the finance director shall establish procedures to ensure accurate accounting. So however you.
Thanks. Oh, you don't have one of those. You don't have one of those. Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, I
So
think-
is this something that we want to send back to the finance committee
well,
too?
I
That
think we need
once
to do this soon, right? We have a gap.
Well, and I can do the research and find out what we've got. The next finance committee meeting will be the day after council, next Tuesday, which would put it into October.
that way you have an opportunity, you and Stephanie, to get together and have everything that, worked out, what you have going on, and get this, have a chance to make sure everybody's on the same
And I
page.
apologize that I haven't had that opportunity. I tried, but it didn't work. So I came a little bit unprepared.
No worries, you were gone all last week, Clint.
Why don't we just contact other major cities and find out what procedure they're using? I can see this thing getting real complicated. And like Gary said, people running around and whatever. So if whatever's the most simplified way and legal way to do it.
No, I
let's do
agree.
it.
I agree. Gary.
If whatever we're doing right now works, and Betty and Chief and Stephanie can get together, if it works, don't fix it.
Well, we need to make sure that we're authorizing.
Yeah.
We don't have a policy set where electronic transfers come from anywhere but the finance department. That is the issue, really. That's the only issue, is the electronic transfers coming from somewhere other than the finance department.
So if they come up with a policy that we can go with and
Correct.
insert in our policy and keep things simple, I'm all for keeping things simple.
Me too.
We like simple.
So do we want to do that then? Bring it to the finance committee to bring it back, so we can bring an ordinance back to the next workshop?
Unless you can come up with something like mine.
We'll see what I got, well, by Friday.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Okay, any other comments on? Okay, moving on. So the next item on the agenda is the ADA compliance. Last Monday, the mayor presented us all with a statement on regarding that he's having issues with the meetings because of his hearing impairment. And so with him putting that in writing, it now puts it upon council to accommodate. And so what I did is I went to the accommodation and printed out these forms. And basically what we would need to do is work with the mayor to see what exactly he wants from us. And my understanding, pardon me?
Sorry, I'll wait till you're done. I just have a question.
Okay. So, in reading in this, and it states in here, if we have to accommodate, and I didn't highlight, reasonable accommodation related to the benefits and privileges. And there was a section in here regarding, hang on, modified workplace policies. And basically, is it reasonable accommodation to modify a workplace policy? And it says, yes, it is reasonable accommodation to modify a workplace policy when necessitated by an individual's disability-related limitations. So, my thoughts on, and throwing it out there for discussion, my thoughts on this is the only thing that the mayor was requesting of council is help in running the meeting and letting James help him run the meeting. And it seemed like the resistance came from, that was not our policy, that he was to run the meeting and then only the mayor pro tem would take over, or it was a vote of council. That is our policy, a vote of council on somebody else being able to take over the meeting. So according to this, it looks like we can modify our policy to accommodate his hearing hardship. So, and that's just what I was throwing out. This is what the attorney sent to me, that, you know, with him making that request, it now puts us at some sort of liability. Josh?
Yeah. Personally, I voted in favor of letting James help him with the meeting, but as a technical issue, if we are strictly accommodating him for his hearing disability, that is a different thing from what either James was providing or what the Mayor Pro Tem provides, which is actual running of the meeting.
I agree.
So, at the risk of additional expense to the city, is what we're actually looking for, a hearing aid, a translator, someone who can translate things for the mayor so that he's able to understand what's going on and he remains in control of the meeting. Is that seems like the actual accommodation that ADA would require would be accommodation of his specific disability, not letting him delegate the meeting to the person of his choice.
Okay.
First off, he's a service-connected veteran. The VA will provide him hearing aids and equipment free of charge. All he needs to do is go down to audiology. Second, if we, as Josh was saying, having somebody else run the meeting isn't necessarily consistent with his inability to hear. His inability to hear shouldn't be a hindrance to him running the meeting. And second, or third, there's more than one of us that have hearing loss. So the best way to overcome it is pay attention the best you can and read before you get here.
Trent?
I was just going to say, your recommendation where we change the policy, the policy is basically having somebody else run the meeting, which is what he wants to do. He just wants to select a person. I don't see that that's an accommodation. I mean, there's a process in place to have somebody else run the meeting. Because he doesn't like the person, not the person, but doesn't like the situation where that person runs the meeting, I don't know that that's an accommodation. We're making the accommodation. We're allowing, there's a process in place to allow someone else to run the meeting.
Correct. John?
ADA is related to his hearing loss, not to his ability to run the meeting or having assistance to run the meeting. As mayor, he has his own obligation to provide assistance for any employee related to the ADA. You know, if he has a hearing issue that he has a problem hearing, then be it headset that's plugged into the speaker system so he can hear and he can control the volume, whatever opportunity the VA can provide assistance, that is his responsibility as mayor overseeing the city. The council does not have any responsibility in making policy changes in relationship to who runs the meeting. We offered We've never denied him assistance. We voted for our procedures whether James was going to run the meeting, not provide assistance. And that's the issue where the mayor seems to be, one, confused in his memo to us that it wasn't unanimous. The council wasn't saying that we were stopping him from being able to, you know, provide assistance. We just said he needs to conduct the meeting. He can provide us. James has been providing assistance for months, you know. And if it's truly his hearing problem, then I recommend that the mayor go out and take care of the responsibility of getting himself through the VA or an audiologist, what kind of equipment he needs to provide assistance. You know, I think he can plug right in.
So, Clint, Gary,
There's no excuse not to use the VA. He's been down there before. They have a walk-in clinic Tuesday through Friday from 9 until 11 every morning. So he didn't even need an appointment. All he has to do is walk in.
Clint.
Well, I don't really think the hearing is a big issue. He does have a hearing problem, but I don't think he feels confident in running the meeting. So he is using the hearing situation to dodge that bullet.
That may be, but I don't have proof of that, and it's no way for me to make that call. My thought, this is my whole thought process behind this. For somehow council to come up with a way to work with the mayor, so whether it be James helping him with the meeting, I personally don't have an issue with that, so that we can conduct business and continue moving forward. Without the mayor not being here at meetings, he is not hearing some of the decisions or conversations that are taking place. And whether he gets all of it, hears bits and pieces of it. There's been many times he sat here and has asked, what did they say? What did they mean by that? To either myself or to James during the meeting. And yes, I'm not comfortable, I'm not saying we should just let James run the meeting. That's not what I'm saying. I'm thinking that we need to come up with a way to work with the mayor so that he can be here and be at the council meetings and work with the mayor on his hearing. That is what he stated in paper, that he's having a hard time hearing the meetings, he can't run them. So I believe it's up to us to help him.
Can't legislate it. How do we change our rules so that he, first off, James or assistant running the meeting or assisting him doesn't deal with the ADA issue. The ADA issue is related to his hearing. James isn't going to make him hear any better by running the meeting or assisting him, if that's truly the issue
But
that we're trying to resolve.
if you stop and think about it though, in some of these meetings, I mean, this is just my recollection of some of the things that have taken place in the meetings, is where he gets stuck because he can't hear everything and he needs help on how to move forward. And yes, he needs help learning how to run the meetings, and I think by now, yes, he should be able to run the meeting by himself. I'm not looking for an excuse or a way out. But I also see when watching the meetings and watching what takes place, he has a hard time hearing everything that's happened, a decision is made, when to move forward, when to move on. And I don't have an issue if he's comfortable with James assisting him. I personally don't have an issue with that. And basically that was my only reason for bringing that up for discussion, is so that we can move forward and accomplish city business.
And I would, again, say I have no objection to James helping him, but there is a difference between James helping him run the meeting and completely transferring executive authority during the meetings to James. One of them is an assistance because of the mayor's disability. The other is putting someone in as temporary mayor who is not the mayor or the mayor pro tem.
So do we do it as
I believe the mayor should
a
still be the one
suggestion to the
making.
mayor?
The mayor should still be here with his executive authority, being the one to ultimately decide things. We should provide him such assistance that he can understand what's going on so that he knows what decision to make.
You're still blending two issues. What issue are you want? You've got on the agenda the ADA. So no, but I'm gonna be a stickler on this. He accused us of being prejudiced in relationship to his disability. The attorney has said that we should accommodate his disability. His disability of hearing is unrelated to whether he can or cannot conduct a meeting as the mayor. It impacts his ability, but doesn't mean that he can't conduct the meeting. If he has a hearing problem, we can't legislate, or we have to go through and are we going to legislate that everybody that comes in this room that has an inability to hear or have difficulties, we provide them with a hearing?
Yes, actually, that's already in our rules, that reasonable accommodation is provided for members of the public.
Reasonable.
Yes.
But are we gonna buy 60, 100 hearing sets and to change the communication so that they can all hear? That's what we're talking about. That's the ADA issue. If the mayor needs assistance in his ability to hear, then the mayor and the city, not the council, city needs to provide him what electronic or mechanical, devices that he's gonna need. As far as running the meeting, none of us said the vote wasn't for James not providing him assistance. The vote was whether James ran the meeting, and that's why it got turned down. If the mayor wouldn't have thrown a fit and it stormed out, we could have got to the point where we would have agreed to have James provide assistance, but he chose to walk out that day.
Okay, so maybe I put this on here as the wrong way to put it. Basically, I wanted to just refer to the letter that the mayor gave to us on the 10th. Okay?
I think the challenge is that you're mixing the person and the position with the accommodation that needs to be handled. So if it was any employee in the city, and it was an ADA requirement that this person had a hearing disability and needed to attend meetings, let's say it's the city clerk, the same accommodations needs to take place. So it's not a run the meeting thing, it's a finance committee needs to work on approving budget and getting estimates to find out what it's going to take to accommodate that disability in a situation that we're in, regardless of who it is. It could be a council member, it could be Angelica, it could be a staff member that has to present. But it's a accommodation. It's not a because he runs the meeting kind of thing. That's a situation, but that's part of the situation. But we need to figure out how to fix the problem.
Well, and that's what I wanted to start to say before I let you speak, is maybe the way that I put this on the agenda was the wrong wording to use. Basically, it was brought to our attention that the mayor has an issue with his hearing being. So it's my thoughts
No
on.
communication with the citizens.
My thoughts on the issue are try to work with the mayor as a council on how to get through this issue. And basically, all I wanted to bring forward to council was a discussion on whether, and if James was in agreement, if James assists the mayor with the meeting so that the mayor would be here. I mean, and if everybody's totally, I'm sorry, you cannot speak, Don, this is a workshop.
I understand that,
No.
but I'd like to
But
give some
it
technical
means you don't-
information
you can't
that
talk.
I know, if possible.
So my comment on that, I mean, if you guys want to just totally blow it off, that's fine. I'm bringing it up to the council that, and you're right, I put it on the agenda wrong. ADA compliance, that's not what I meant. And I guess, just putting out the email, my concern is I'm trying to find a way that the council can work with the mayor.
So I don't think you put it on the agenda. I think we all knew what you meant when you put it on the agenda like this. James helped him run the meeting for months with no vote of the council. I don't think there's any problem with that. And I don't think there's any problem with that moving forward. I think the problem that came with the people that voted that down was having him actually turn the meeting over.
Right.
So if he continues and the mayor's comfortable with that as counting that as his accommodation, I don't see any problem with that. And I don't think anybody else did before, because there was no issue raised with it. So, but the other part is, he's made this complaint. And to John's point, if this was any other member of the city, or employee of the city, it would be up to the administrative side of the house to accommodate that. Now, the only reason it's kind of a weird situation is because he's head of the executive branch and has to accommodate his own challenge. And I think by saying that out loud, it kind of sounds like, well, the mayor has to do it himself. But that's really what it boils down to. If he had an HR person, he would work with the HR person to accommodate and do what needs to get done. So I don't want to make it sound like it's the mayor's problem, but because of separation of powers, short of changing our policy as on who can run the meeting, it really does fall down to, it's an HR issue.
I'm sorry, I'm looking at you and I can only see you.
First off, if this issue is just hearing, he could be provided with a computer monitor, because Angelica does a pretty good job of transcribing what's said. This way he can read what's being said. And I've been complaining of hearing issues for the past 5 years, but I end up missing a lot of what's said. So I frequently look over and see what's being typed. If we were to provide the mayor with a computer screen, a monitor, and if we had a larger monitor somewhere in the room where everybody could read what's being said, I think that would be a reasonable accommodation.
I have a question here, and this never came up before, so just throwing it out here. But if you were in the open world, working someplace, you don't go in and tell an employer, okay, I can't hear, but I want this job, so in order for me to work here, you're going to have to provide me hearing devices. I mean, is that, I mean, isn't that actually the person's responsibility? Isn't it no different than a mechanic having to bring his own tools? I mean, I don't understand this. If you're not capable of doing the job, then you make yourself capable or you don't get the job.
Josh, then John.
Yeah. ADA actually does in many cases require the employer to make modifications to the workplace, to the policies, provide additional support for disabled employees in private employment as well as in government. The questions are legally, what is a reasonable accommodation for the particular disability, and is it unduly burdensome on the employer? And those are legal terms that I am not an ADA lawyer. I'm not going to even pretend to define those. But yeah, in the private industry, there are many cases where, in fact, you would provide a hearing impaired employee with either some sort of hearing assistance device or with an assistant who can hear things and relay information to them depending on the nature of the job.
John?
Oh, I was going to just basically say the same thing, that if you are hearing impaired, you're functionally capable of doing your job, but you can't hear, then your employer will provide you with like a phone that's capable of transcribing communication device. Those things are reasonable. You know, the mayor has a response, like Trent said, it's unusual because the mayor has the issue, but the administrative side of the city is responsible to accommodate the employees when they're ADAs. So it comes back onto him to help provide his own assistance as needed. You know, if it's a large burden cost-wise, it has to come to council for approval. But nonetheless, it's still something that side of the city needs to accommodate him for. As far as running the meeting portion of this conversation, it was never a major, the issue wasn't never really the major about James assisting. It was about somebody else running the meeting. You know, the mayor has a responsibility, that's his job, to run the meeting. If he needs assistance because he's has his own issues of being able to conduct the meeting, we were providing, allowing James to do that with some tolerance on the part of the council. So we were providing him that issue. It only got out of hand on his own cognizance when we didn't allow him to have James take over. You know.
Gary?
As I recall the ADA, I might be wrong because it's been several years since I've looked at it. states that employers with 50 or more employees must make reasonable accommodation.
No, it doesn't say that. It's right there, is a copy of the accommodations, ADA. So, okay. My thoughts are that one of us, and I would be more than happy to, but according to the mayor, he will not be back until the 18th. My job is sending me out of town at 6 a.m. on the 18th, and I will not be back until Saturday at 9:30 p.m. So it doesn't give me a whole lot of time to try to meet with the mayor prior to Monday's meeting to ask him what is it he is asking of council. As far as he requested ADA accommodations or help because of his hearing disability, and if it's basically for the council to approve assistance, that's saying the council is willing to provide assistance for the meeting. And if that's all that he's requesting, I don't see where it's an issue, but I'm not sure what he's even requesting of us, if he wants special hearing.
Well, in that case, council is not his employer,
Right.
and he doesn't need our permission to have assistance as any other employee. He as the chief executive can simply provide it for him, you know, again.
You're talking about his hearing now.
Yes, for his hearing, he can get whatever equipment he wants as a reasonable accommodation. He could hire a personal assistant to translate for him. Any of that is ADA accommodation. And that is separate from the issue of, does a sitting council member who is part of a separate legal body and has separate responsibilities cross that line with the mayor and take over some of the mayor's authority rather than just helping him hear the meeting? So personally, I have no objection to James continuing to assist in running the meeting, but that goes beyond, I think, a strict accommodation of his disability to an assistance in actually running the meeting. But again, if that's what if he would be willing to do that, I'd be fine with that. As long as it's assistance and not complete delegation of authority.
Yeah. This gives an example of a hearing disability, and
Which page are you on? I don't know.
that would be 3 of 43, example A. A reasonable accommodation would be providing a TTY type device.
Can't hear you.
She needs some hearing assistance.
That thing.
So back to my first recommendation that we put a computer to monitor and the VA here on the TTY type device free of charge. All we gotta do is ask for it.
Any other discussion on this?
So I don't know who you're gonna get to talk, be willing to talk to.
I'm not sure if Trent wants to talk to him or.
Are you on his good side anymore?
I'm on everyone's good side.
Not based on his blog.
He'll be back when, the 18th?
It
which
says
is-
on here that 18th
Which is tomorrow.
Tomorrow morning.
is Wednesday, or tomorrow, yeah.
Yeah, I can try to meet up with him this week sometime.
I'm not sure if you, I mean, if you want to find out, I mean, I want to resolve this and move forward and just try to conduct city business without drama.
No, I'll call him this week.
Any other comments on that? Okay, moving on. Whistleblower policy status. James had asked that we talk about this, that somebody was going to look into
You know,
our
I
policy. of
remember talking
whistleblower.
about it, and I haven't had an opportunity to do any more recently, and, you know, so I will, now, unfortunately. No, I need to go and, I'll put it back on my docket of things to do, so. I will-
And I guess the reason this was brought up, so it doesn't get lost in the cracks
Yeah.
and everything, is that, how about not next workshop, but the workshop after that? Is
Okay.
that-
Well, we have someone in whistleblower status now, can we put her on the next workshop? And then-
Was that enough time? I'm just worried about it, just talking about all this time
Well,
thing.
we can always move it, but might as well put it on there.
On the next workshop,
That's
then,
fine, we'll
John,
talk
that'll
about it
work
all
for
three
you?
one again, and, you know, we're always covered under the
Whistleblower
state.
policy on the next workshop.
We're always covered under the state's whistleblower.
Correct. But it was, I believe it was you that said that we
Correct.
needed to look into our policy. Okay. So James had asked me to get that put back on the agenda. Okay.
Don't forget.
So I guess we'll go ahead and go on the next workshop. Next item on the agenda is, John had asked for the writ to be put on there.
The issue come to mind was that per memo from the city attorney, Mr. Luce, between him and the attorney from their son in relationship to the writ of mandate, the request was from his counsel that he would be out of state till the 18th and wanted to hold off on the court action on the 18th, I believe tomorrow was originally.
Tomorrow morning,
Yeah, and at the time, the attorney made mention that not unless the mayor was going to start the process of posting and hiring those positions required by the writ of mandate, the preliminary writ. The last email I got in relationship to this, we all got, was that the mayor's attorney asked for a continuance, which Mr. Lewis granted, as it was agreed. The hiring freeze would be lifted and the process commenced to replace the vacant city positions. I'll let you know the new date of the hearing. As to the vacant positions, you are authorized to commence the regular process for hiring a replacement, and if possible, to do so today to minimize our time. Of course, this was sent out to us and CC'd the city, you know, Lieutenant Massey, Pickett, PPD Garrison, Angelica, and Elizabeth Thompson, the attorney. The problem is that we don't start hiring anybody. You know, we don't put on the freeze, and we don't get Angelica and company to put the job applications out for posting. I communicated with Angelica today for the meeting, and she has received the same email, but she doesn't understand again, who's we, and she's received nothing from the mayor. So the concern I have is that the attorney has put a delay on the court proceedings, but as of today, nothing is happening. So in a week's time, we're not any farther ahead than we were, you know, other than a week more delay in processing this writ. So I just wanted to bring it up as a comment, and I was hoping that the mayor would be here so we could ask him, you know, when this process was going to start.
We have one department head that can probably speak to that.
No, she doesn't know.
I've talked about
Oh,
John,
John? Well, John's issue's already, as he spoke, is being resolved. But as far as,
It's not being, it might be resolved.
yeah,
We got to advertise positions.
Yeah.
With no, that mean we're gonna get tired.
correct.
but
But
let's
at least-
refer along the process.
Yes.
And then if the answer is no, then it's a clear violation of the writ.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
But as far as the other positions, to my best understanding from Angelica's conversation with me earlier, is that nothing has happened as far as the city's concerned.
First, I didn't get that memo at all, so,
Okay,
now,
so-
was it saying, is it strictly, I understood it was strictly the police, not open to everything, according to what I understood.
It's not what it states in here.
It's not what it states in there. Okay, now, has the police had any notification from Sun to move forward on hiring and posting and go as far as here, oral boards and stuff? Have you?
We had already conducted oral boards because we just continually, and he did, I believe, tell Lieutenant Massey. You better speak to that.
Okay, we did have one oral board to deal with an existing vacancy, and we were starting the process of hiring somebody through that oral board, but then the mayor interjected and put a freeze on the police department. So that freeze remained in effect until word was that Officer Schliessman was being hired by Sumner. So a partial freeze was lifted because Officer Schliessman was hired by Sumner, where he sent me an email saying that we can start to hire a replacement for Officer Schliessman. We have not received the go-ahead to hire a replacement for Officer Belkey, whom left us in June, earlier part of this year. We did not get that freeze lifted on Belkey's position, but we did get the freeze lifted per his email to hire a replacement for Schliessman. That answers your question.
It sounds to me like not even if it was strictly zeroed in on the police, nothing really has been done with police to be in compliance with this continuance. So what do we do now, since he did not comply to the continuance?
Okay.
Do we have court tomorrow morning?
No, it got continued till
Well, it got
next week.
continued based on his
Next.
requirements to do that. But if he didn't do them, what is the repercussion? Nothing?
We continue on to court.
That gets brought up at the continuance.
Right. He did nothing in that time.
So the basis that the continuance was granted amounts to nothing, just lip service, right?
So the last of this 4-page reference that I got, sorry, did you read it?
Yeah, I have it here.
Okay.
But Trent had his hand up.
No, I know, that's why I stopped.
Well, I'm just, even if the mayor was here, I mean, if the mayor was here, it would make it easier because you could ask, who are you telling to do this? In this email, it basically directs us to hire, but it's not clear who Ken's referring to. And I'll read it since you don't have it. As you're aware, there's been a writ of mandate filed in Pierce County. This is to the council. The mayor's attorney asked for a continuance, which I've granted, as it was agreed the hiring freeze would be lifted and the process commenced to replace the vacant city positions. I'll let you know what the new date for the hearing. As to the vacant positions, you're authorized to commence the regular hiring process for hiring a replacement, and if possible, do so today to minimize our time. But the problem is, that was addressed to council and CC'd to Betty and Pickett and Massey. We don't have an HR person. So even if the email came from the mayor in that, written just like that, who's on first? I mean, who's gonna take the ball and run with it? Nobody would post. So I think we should need to get clarification from the attorney, who can post these positions. It's not a matter of the mayor holding it up. He's been out of town and probably hasn't seen this. He's going through his attorney. So we just need to figure out who's authorized to post the positions and go for it.
Well, I'm sure he's been in contact with his attorney because he would have to know whether he got his extension or not. I mean, they might as well just said, hey, we'll give you another week. We forgot all the rest of that lip service because it don't mean nothing. But let's go out and challenge it. Let's immediately tomorrow morning, let's advertise for city jobs.
Okay, well, that was told to us a week ago. Who are you talking to?
Well, who did it, Angelica?
Well, we don't
Mayor,
have.
The city
Mayor
clerk
Pro
does.
Tem, the mayor's out of town, the Mayor Pro Tem. Do it.
Mayor Pro Tem's not authorized to hire people.
He's not hiring, he's advertising according to the direction of that memo.
Okay, per the continuation of that letter, on the Friday the 14th, Friday the 14th, his attorney communicated with Cy's wife last night, was able to speak to him about your proposal. He will agree to permit you to start the preliminary process of hiring as indicated, below in exchange for a continuance. As I indicated, I think we can significantly thin the number of issues that need to be addressed by the clerk once I'm able to meet with him. I will sit with him on the 18th and narrow significantly the issues he wants to work on, and perhaps work with you to focus on those goals. And then Ken, his attorney, regarding your continuance, I indicated in my conversation, I'm unable to agree to continuance until he authorizes the mandated process to fill the positions. You can get the mayor to appoint many of the folks indicated in our pleadings, appointment and or the position to fill the vacant position is the last step of the council. It just goes on and on. What it comes down to is nothing's happened. Like, the mayor has not directed Angelica or anybody else in the staff that's present to post any of the positions. They've talked about agreeing to it, but they haven't done it. No authorization from the mayor. So I don't know, do you want me to talk to Ken?
Well, it seems to me, it's my understanding that the mayor was coming back on the 18th. The reason they asked for the continuance is that the mayor was going to address these issues when he got back. If he did not, we were going to court next week.
Yeah. So.
That was my understanding of the continuance, so.
I have a concern about the mandate in that if the mayor does in fact post for the position and propose to hire department heads, I didn't see any requirement in there that they be qualified department heads. Otherwise, he'll try to run somebody by the council won't feel that the person's qualified, they'll turn him down. Then they'll blame the council for not filling the position.
Well, like the last time you tried to do that, Gary, we insisted that the first meeting of the job qualifications is the job description. You know, they have to meet the minimum qualifications of the job description. That is.
It's part of the writ. He
Part
has
of
to follow the policy that's in
Yeah.
place.
It shouldn't need to be separately spelled out. He's taken an oath to faithfully execute the laws. The laws say someone in this position needs these qualifications.
So,
It
well,
shouldn't,
but you know.
at some point, you shouldn't have to spell out that someone has to be qualified for the job they're being appointed to.
So anyway, that's all I wanted to bring up. We've got another day. We'll see what happens between now and Monday. And then we'll know whether in fact it's processing it, and then we go back to court. But I just wanted to bring up the issue that Ken's letters, nothing happening in the city today.
Right, and Ken knew as well that the mayor was not going to be back until the 18th. They gave him, that's why he's getting a week to be back in town to have that opportunity to get the work done. The whole reason it got postponed because he wasn't going to be in town for the hearing.
Well, but that wasn't just the reason.
It wasn't just the reason, they were giving him an opportunity. You've got one more week. If that was the discussion between the mayor's attorney and the city attorney.
Well, the granting of the continuance was on the premise that he would in fact start the process.
Well, let's hope he does it when he comes back on the 18th.
Anyway, that's it.
Okay, the next item you have on there is regarding the blog.
There are several items that I detest in this blog. One of them I think we need to do is, the fact of the matter is, I think we need to write a resolution that restricts what gets placed on a utility bill. And it also is a recommendation of the city attorney that we, and as such, I will communicate with him and we'll bring something prepared for Monday. But the issue is that this is twice now this mayor has used the utility bill for personal issues. This is a personal blog, and when he wanted to have a meeting with the city to present his personal issues in relationship to Gary's challenge. Gary's challenge wasn't as a councilman, it was a challenge as a citizen of the city. It wasn't a council action that Gary placed on the mayor in the first meeting. That the mayor chose to have that public meeting, and he used the city products to host that meeting. And as such, unless we're going to leave it open for anybody in this citizenry to come to the city and say, I'm going to have something, or I want to do this, and I want to put in the utility bill, because that's exactly what it is. And it has to be restricted just to city business. So that's one of the issues I wanted to talk about, is that, the other issues is that there are several instances in this blog that refer to, one, $70,000 worth of invoices stashed away in a safe for 7 to 9 months. Why in the safe? Because no other people would have access to it, only certain people involved in the fraud, is implying that people that have access to the safe are involved in a fraud. And as such, it needs to be investigated.
I will say that because he has alleged that there is a conspiracy that's been carefully handed down by several generations of city finance personnel and complete turnovers of the city council over a decade, that there's obviously no one in the city who could be counted on to fairly investigate that. I have in fact sent it to the state auditor's office and requested a full investigation of his charges. I'm not sure the state auditor's office would be the right place to send it, because his allegations would imply that the state auditor's office was involved in the conspiracy as well. However, that's where he sent things when there's no one in the city to investigate.
Did you also discuss with them the $30,000 cash?
I sent him a complete copy
Yeah, okay.
of the blog posting and noted that, yes, I'm named in it as well as supposedly part of a fraud, and I'd like to clear my name.
And that blog was sent by the attorney to the state auditor's office and also to the PDC, and I think y'all got a copy of the response, or what, and had heard back from the PDC.
I find it repugnant that he uses this as a tool to attack the council and accusing us of becoming a dictator, just as Hitler did in Germany, implying that we are in any realm associated remotely to that level of crap that went on in the 40s. Anyway, I just find this reprehensible, and I do think that the issues related to the finance issues, the accusations of cover-up by the council finance committees, and naming certain people that are presently on that committee as not doing their job, safeguarding our treasury, needs to be reviewed, and it needs to be spoken out in public and challenged and investigated.
So what do you mean by spoken out in public?
Well, I'm speaking it out right now in
Okay.
public.
Well, that's what I'm wanting to know.
Yeah, I mean, unless we want to get into a mudslinging, throw anything down, I'm not in, but this is where we can address these issues in the open, on record, in front of the public, and challenge these things that he accuses us, and then uses our own city billing process to throw mud at us.
I think your accusations and stuff, and rebuttals you're making right now, our comments and everything else, that should be made in an open, regular council meeting.
Oh, I will bring it back up, But I'm not gonna let a meeting go by without saying something about it.
Move it forward.
Any other comments regarding the law? So do you want to start on a resolution for restricting the use of?
Yes, we're
So we
communicating
can
with.
bring it back to the workshop?
You want to do it on the workshop, that's fine, I have no problem.
I mean, I think we should bring it to a workshop to
Okay.
discuss it before we bring it to a council meeting, correct? Is that everybody's? All right. So, that, you got that on for next, okay. Okay, last on the agenda is Betty would like to discuss the bars from the bars from your conference.
Woohoo! Okay. First, to clarify issues, you can't hear me. Oh, just sit here. To clarify some issues, the state auditor prescribes the manner in which the jurisdictions, any agencies, must report to them annually. They don't prescribe and dictate our chart of accounts for internal reporting. So when I referred to the wrong bars accounts and the bars accounts being wrong, that's what I was meaning, was that the chart of account numbers needed to be changed for reporting purposes. It's not an illegal act to use different chart of accounts than what's in the bars manual for internal reporting. Why anybody would want to do two different ones, I have no idea, because if you use something other than the prescribed chart of accounts from the bars manual, then you are required to change it and report with the ones that they've prescribed. So you can use any accounting system that's accepted to do your internal reporting. And that's basically what Pacific has done in the past, is they've kind of used the bars manual but not followed strictly with the chart of accounts, and then at the end of the year they go through and make all the changes on what they send to the state auditor's office, but they never change the system, so it's never fixed. And every year you have the same process over and over. Now, staff and I have tried to start working on making 2012 a little bit more report friendly by making changes and identifying what needs to be changed in order to meet the requirements of the state auditor's office. The state auditor's office is prescribing significant changes for 2013. That's the class I was in all day last Tuesday, going over what all the changes are that they're going to make, and reviewing the principles that they outline for jurisdictions to follow in the bars manual. There's numerous changes for next year. So past practice, Pacific reported internally one way and then converted the information before they sent it to the state auditor, and the system wasn't changed, so everything got done every year. So we're hoping that in 2012 we're going to be a little closer and not have to make as many changes by the time we get ready to report to the state auditor's office. So what I propose for council consideration is that the 2013 budget be set up in compliance with the state auditor's reporting requirements. This will be more efficient, save time and money for staff and the audit, because the audit's based on the annual report. There's some special revenue funds that don't meet the requirements to stand alone, and lots of changes in just the numbers. Some of the accounts are going to have, some of the activity will be less detailed on the chart of account, some of it's more detailed. And then if we set up the budget so that it meets their requirements, then we'll have one system that'll go all the way through, and this will tie right into our switch to version 7 in 2013. There's currently funds that are reported internally that aren't even adopted by ordinance. They just decided to set up some extra deposit funds, and they did. The primary information that will be provided to council will remain the same. Most of the changes you're not even going to recognize, because you're looking more at the description of what the information is, not necessarily the actual digits in the numbers. Mostly just staff will know the difference. The changes will consolidate some and give you more information. During the budget process, council and staff would have the opportunity to say, wait a minute, we don't like this, we want more information here or more information there, and those changes can be made while still staying within the requirements and the recommendations of the BAR's manual. Because if we can stay within the parameters, then every of their recommendation, everything will be easier. We'll do it one time and be done with it rather than going back over and over and making the same changes. So if this council concurs that that's an acceptable idea, then I'll provide a resolution to make those changes and provide the budget in that. Start working on the budget with that in mind.
Yeah, the city of Pacific, been doing business a long